All right. We have just a few reports. Anything from book committee that you want to update, Carol?
Sorry. No, the only thing we really have to deal with is our notice of motion.
Okay. Yeah, and I have that to read in just a bit here. I'll read it right now. So this will be voted on at the AGM in November. Be it resolved that the general meeting of the society, general membership of the society, approves the expenditure of not more than $10,000 of society funds to reprint copies of Reflections Lethbridge Then and Now. Furthermore, be it resolved that any reprints of this title, which can be paid for out of the proceeds of the book sales, can be done without the approval of the general membership. So for formal reasons, that has been read, and I'll read it again in October, and we'll move from there. Hope, anything we should know about the treasurer's report? Any support you need from people getting ready for the AGM?
No, I just have to get into the book, like the hours at the Galt again to do the inventory on the books. I did deposit 2 checks today, treasurer's report, so the money went up a little bit in the regular account to $5,331.24.
And was that the U of L and the Galt, the ones who just bought books? Were those two?
No, that was one was some I'd have to run to my other office.
No, that's
One's
fine.
from the historic, like from ASA, and the other ones I think from, it was like $181. So
Okay, because yeah, I sold books to both the Galt and to the U of L, so I'm just want to make sure those checks come in before year end. So if you don't see them in a little bit, let me know and I'll remind them that our year end is coming.
Okay.
All right, a couple of announcements. We have rescheduled the civil disobedience tour for this Sunday morning at 10:30. We will be starting it at 2nd Avenue and 4th Street. If a few people want to join us in person, socially distance, etc., you're welcome. But we will also be taping that virtually on our Facebook page. So hopefully we can get some people going there. The Alex Johnston lecture has been scheduled in partnership with the university on November 19th. It is a Friday this year, not a regular Thursday, because that works better for the presenter. It will be held, again, everything's up in the air. It will be held in person at the Galt, following whatever protocols they need, but also will be streamed live, so people will be able to watch that virtually as well. And this will be news for anybody from the executive. I had a conversation with the head of the United Way. About 3 years ago, we had plans to do a walking tour of their history. It had to be canceled because of weather. It was scheduled in October a few years back. And they were wondering if we'd be willing to do something similar this year because of their 80th anniversary. And so I will bring more updates back to the executive and to membership as dates get planned, etc. But the United Way wants to partner with the Historical Society on doing something around their 80th anniversary. And since all the research was already done for the 2 or 3 years ago that didn't happen, this should work lickety-split for the LHS. It's going to simply be a matter of figuring out which way they want to do the tour, or if they want to do it virtually or what, and how that will work. So we will be working on that with them in the next little while. There is a Historical Society of Alberta executive meeting coming up next Tuesday, October 5th, so a week from today. And the next executive meeting for the Lethbridge Historical Society is on next Monday. So all of those things are moving along. That in a very short way was our business meeting. And I thank those who stayed with us to listen to our little bit of business. Anything else from any of the members before we adjourn this to move on to the presentation in a few minutes? Okay, I will declare us adjourned. I'm going to stop talking and hand everything over to Lorian so she can make sure it's all set up to do screen sharing and everything we need before the presentation. So I will be here, but I'm going to shut my camera off, and Lorian, you can take over from this point.
All right, fantastic. I know I watched Timothy join us here just a minute ago, and Kendal will be back probably in a few minutes. I suppose the biggest thing is that Kendall and Timothy are the co-owners of Summits Property Group. They're the ones renovating the post office building downtown. I'm sure we're all fairly aware of what's been going on down there. We've been trying for months now to try and coordinate an event held at the post to collect any stories or memories or artifacts that are associated with the post office building throughout its history. And it's some of these things are going to go up on permanent or semi-permanent display in the post. There's a wall on the second floor. So we've been trying to coordinate this event, and I've actually just been emailing with Timothy this morning. We had scheduled it for the 16th of October, but given the state of COVID right now, we feel that it is safest and best if we postpone it again. So we'll probably end up moving the event itself to somewhere in the spring. So this presentation is a little bit more about the updates on what's going on at the post. I don't know if any of you have been downtown recently, but they have a bright, shiny new glass wall on the northeast side of the building. I had to think about that for a second. And that is going to be like their future side of the building. But Timothy and Kendall are more than capable of taking us through everything. So as soon as we have a new booked date for the event, then we'll certainly let everybody know so that we can attend. And, maybe we'll be able to do something in January or in the winter months if we can have it indoors. But just like everything else, we are kind of bound by COVID. So hopefully we can all get ourselves collected and vaccinated and safe to be around again. Not that the convenience of online Zoom meetings isn't going to be something I miss, because being able to sit at home in my pajamas and do meetings is fantastic. So at this point, we're kind of just going to wait for Timothy and Kendall to come back. They should be only another couple of minutes, but yeah, we got through that business pretty quick. So. Well, it's funny, when we booked this programming, we always do it on the fourth Tuesday of the month. And I didn't have any idea at the time that we'd be competing with the mayoral debate. So, which I actually was watching before I came here. Just like everything else, it's pretty divisive. What's that, Carol?
It's kind of unfortunate, yeah.
It is, yeah. It kind of is. I mean, it's an important debate, and it's an important thing to get to know our mayoral candidates, because, one of them's going to be sitting in that chair in 8 weeks or whatever it is. So, oh man, it's not even that far. It's only like 4 weeks, maybe 5. Keep forgetting it's the end of October or end of September already.
Yeah.
I feel like should be some background music or something playing for us right now.
Yeah.
What you gonna do?
You want elevator music? There you go.
I was gonna say, thanks, Hope. That's some background music. That's awesome. That does sound like something you'd hear in an office tower elevator. Possibly one of those little digital keyboards that I had as a kid. Ding, 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 and it made those like pre-recorded melodies.
Or a xylophone.
Oh, yes, a xylophone. But one of the little plastic rainbow colored ones, not the big symphonic ones.
This is more upbeat elevator music.
There we go. Oh, there we go.
There's Kendall.
Hello, Kendall.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Good. We were testing out elevator music to see which one we liked better.
Ah, nice. Elevator music. Are you expecting it to
Stimulating,
be that
yes.
boring? You're going to have to turn on elevator music?
No, we finished our meeting like 6 minutes ago, so we've been kind of just
Oh.
sitting here waiting, testing out
That is-
elevator music.
Got to be the fastest board meeting in human history.
Yeah. Actually, I had one last month that we, in 5 minutes, decided we were deferring to next month. And so that was it. That was done.
Ah, that's impressive. That is impressive. I can't say that I've been in a board meeting in quite some time that was shorter than an hour and a half. So
Yeah, well, just wait till we do our joint meeting again in the spring.
yeah, I bet. Cool. Well, I can get started. What did you guys kind of have planned for timeline? I think I saw somewhere like 7:30. So did you guys have things you wanted to chat about before, or do you want me to just kind of start? I just have like a little bit of an update, and then we actually have kind of a cool little surprise sneak peek for you guys.
Ooh,
That we
I
want
like
to show you.
surprises.
Yeah.
Um,
I haven't even seen what you guys will see, so that's pretty cool.
Well, we're ready to go. So if you wanted to
Okay.
go ahead and get started, do you need to share your screen or anything?
I will. Yes, I've got kind of a couple little slides just to make sure I stay on track and show you guys some pictures. Can you see my screen?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So I will ask everyone except Kendall while he's presenting to please mute yourselves just so that we don't get any feedback, okay? All right, Kendall, go ahead.
Awesome. Sounds good. Well, Lorian and LHS, thanks for having me. Wanted to come say hi, give you guys a quick little update about what we're up to and what we're doing. Lorian and Belinda, I know I've been in the building and heard the spiel and the plan and the vision a few times. But for anyone else that's accompanying or joining, this will kind of give you a little bit of context about what we're trying to do. So I'll try and keep it to, let's say, about 15 minutes for the summary, and then see if you guys have any questions. And then depending on how many people are here, we'll definitely show you the sneak peek surprise. If it's a smaller group, then we'll skip maybe the rest of the building tour, because that's something that, we can show off when there's a bigger group. Or you guys can come by and see the building in person, which is always better. So let's jump in. So quickly, just for those of you who don't know who Summit is, we're an asset management and development company. There's 4 of us. We're located in downtown Lethbridge, and we really essentially a focus on investing in the future of place. So that's both existing buildings as well as new buildings, as well as reimagining buildings. We feel like buildings are only valuable because they serve people, how they live, how they work, how they play. And so it's our mission to make sure that we bring about inspired real estate in everything that we do. And Post is obviously a pretty exciting example of what we could reimagine in downtown Lethbridge. So that brings us to Post, which is what we're here to talk about tonight. Probably the most recognizable building in the city. We think it's definitely the most photographed building in the city. And now that we've been a part of it, I feel like I see it absolutely everywhere. I kind of wish that we could charge a royalty every time it showed up in a picture, but I'm just happy to see it out there and enjoyed by so many people. So that is obviously something that really brought us and drew us to the property when we first started to vision what we could do with it. And we will send you this package as well, so that way it can be circulated or shared. And there's links inside this package that take you to some of our initial project vision videos. And there's also all kinds of different material and snippets and videos on our website to sort of explore the building and some of the history around the building at your leisure. So the next thing that I wanted to kind of highlight or note in the description or in the notes that we had got from Lorian, we really wanted to highlight what we're doing to reimagine and also preserve some of the history attached to the building. And so I get this question quite a bit, and I thought it was worth reviewing. What does historic designation actually mean? And how does that correlate to what we're doing to protect and preserve the building? So the way historical designations work, there's 3 different levels. So there's a municipal designation, there can be a provincial designation, and there can be a federal designation. And this building actually was all the way to federally designated while the federal government owned it. The federal designation was taken off when we purchased it, but it does have provincial and municipal designations. And so what happens when a building is designated as a municipal resource, there are character defining elements that are defined as the most important pieces of the building. So us as developers or property owners, we do own the property, but we have to be careful to protect and preserve those character defining elements. So for the post office building, one thing that not a lot of people know is that obviously there is an original building, which you can kind of see here in the bottom left, has the clock tower on the corner. And that building is 4 stories plus a lower level. And that was built in 1913. However, in 5960, they actually added on to the building that long sort of gray addition that stretches to the south. So that was actually built in 59, connecting to the original building. And they also added the small addition to the east, which is close to the alley. And that accompanies the elevators and the emergency escapes, along with a little bit of extra space to the east of the building. So most of these character defining elements and the protected portion of the building is highlighting the 1913 building, but there are also a few elements that are recognized in the municipal designation that recognize some of the elements in the 1960 building. So some of the items that are protected, obviously that beautiful Tyndall stone facade that's on the outside of the building. The building itself is completely brick, and then the Tyndall stone is clad on the outside. The west and north bays, so those are the window bays. The dentilled cornice and roof level balustrades. So you can see in this picture here, that's all the carving and the detail that is actually around the windows. The copper roof. Now, this is actually a little bit of a fun fact. This might be the one thing that I know about the building that Belinda doesn't know about the building, is that this roof here on the what we call the sloped roof has always been noted and designated as copper. It's actually not copper. And from what we can tell, it's never been copper. So the dome of the clock tower is copper. And so the intention is to always maintain the copper there. But while we were going to replace this metal cladding for the sloped roof, we found out that it's actually just a painted steel. And from what we can tell, it's been painted for many, many, many years. So we are replacing this sloped roof. However, copper is generally not the most favorable roofing material. And so we're going to be replacing it with a more similar and more durable metal system, but we'll also be replacing and repairing a lot of the waterproofing behind the roof, which has failed. And so that's why we're actually going to do the work on the roof in the first place. The raised 1913 inscription. So this is obviously on the corner of the building below the clock tower, and the rusticated base made out of the keystone. And so the rusticated base is actually these lines you can see in this picture. So when you have those carved lines throughout the stone, those are called rustications. So that is protected as part of the building. The ionic pilasters on the upper floors. Oh, sorry, that one is actually these pilasters that are up here between the window dormers. Dormers alternating in rounded and triangular. So again, you can see that all of these dormers, some of them are rounded, some of them are triangular. It's one of my favorite features of the building. On the interior, we have the marble wainscoting. window stools, and millwork facing. And so all of those elements are actually in the Canada Post lobby in the original 1913 building. The terrazzo floors and integrated base, so those are throughout the building, including in the original 1913 building as well. They were extended into the 1960s edition. The coffered ceilings, which are in the original post office, and the stair railings. And these stair railings are actually a stainless steel aircraft grade handrail, and they were installed in the 1960s version of the building in the southwest staircase, which is over here. And in the northeast staircase, that makes up the emergency escape, which is on the east end of the building over here. So those are all of the character defining elements that, you know, we are in some ways obligated to protect. And of course, we want to make sure that we're protecting them. So this gives you a little bit of a note about the building before we started construction. And we bought it off the federal government. The property has been federally owned since it was constructed in 1913. And it's been well taken care of. There's certainly been attention and due diligence to maintaining the property, but it's been a little bit boring. One thing that the federal government does not seem to have on staff is interior designers. And so the building has definitely had elements of aging as it's progressed, to the point where some of the existing government tenants actually didn't want to occupy the building. And so that's really where the decision came about to sell the property, because the government is not in the business of renting to outside businesses. They would only have the building for their own internal services. The other big element of the building is that it was kind of closed to the public. Other than the main post office lobby, there was signage on most doors that said public access prohibited. And so there wasn't really a friendly interface. There wasn't really a way to explore the building. There wasn't really a way to enjoy it. And we felt like that was a bit of a shame, especially considering how prominent this building once was, and hopefully will be again in the downtown community. So our plan was to really take the beautiful elements of the building and enhance them. Take the elements of the building that were dated and reimagine them to be modern and fresh. And finally, to make sure that this building was open and interconnected to the public, so the public could see it, experience some of the history, and enjoy different elements of the building. So we started with repair and protect. So the roofing, obviously a building starts at the roof, and we wanted to make sure that roofing was taken care of across the building. So there's actually numerous roofing projects that we're taking care of, including that sloped copper roof, which is copper roof that is being replaced. The other part of it is the mortar and sealants. So one thing about these buildings that were built hundreds of years ago, they were built to last in a way that modern buildings often aren't. However, there are servicing items that you need to take care of. They don't just last forever. And so you have this beautiful Tyndall stone, but in between the Tyndall stone are mortar joints. Now, the limestone is actually a lot softer than a lot of building materials that are used today. And so the limestone mortar that goes in between those Tyndall stones, it actually slowly degrades over time and washes away with the rain. And so that needs to be repointed and corrected and fixed over time. And so that's something that hasn't happened in quite some time on this property. And so we're going through a significant overhaul of the entire property, where we're going through and repointing everything that needs to be done as sort of a one big shot. Sealants as well, making sure that water doesn't get in behind the stone, get in behind the brick. There's actually a few portions of the building where there's some stone that's cracking to the point where it could fall away or fall off the building. And most of those points is because the roofing system has failed or was installed incorrectly, and water has gotten in behind the brick and or the limestone, and it freezes and cracks and pulls the stone apart. And so that's something that we have to be careful of as property owners and developers, is making sure that when we go to make those repairs, we're engaging the proper consultants, which is not cheap, to make sure that we're remediating and repairing the building properly. Also improving drainage. So the rainwater leaders throughout the building, while everything is open, we're replacing those. We're also making sure that grading away from the property is corrected. And we have some neat elements attached to some of the new exterior elements that help prevent the need for salt being spread on the sidewalks around the building, which is obviously corrosive and eats away at the marble and the limestone finishes. The second piece that we really want to focus on is celebrating the building. This building truly is a beautiful building, And I don't think that it is able to be appreciated all the time, because there isn't really a public realm that allows you to sort of stop and stare or look up at the building. And there wasn't or hadn't been anything in the evening that would allow you to sort of see some of the intricate details and carvings. So we're building in feature and accent lighting throughout the property, as well as on the exterior of the property, that will allow these intricate elements to be seen and appreciated at different times of day. We also want to make sure that we preserve and polish up the marbles and terrazzos that are inside the building. And that included in the northeast entrance, us actually going in and repairing a portion of the terrazzo. So we have 80-year-old terrazzo right next to terrazzo that's 5 months old. And that's something that we'll show you a little bit of a sneak peek of. Most people, I don't think, would go through the expense of trying to make that match. But in order for the terrazzo to be properly highlighted and preserved, that was something that we needed to find a way to match it. And we were actually able to bring in the original company that installed the terrazzo 80 years ago to make that match inside the northeast lobby. So that was pretty exciting for them, and it was exciting for us to be a part of. So the last piece of our plan is really making sure that this space and this building was innovative and ready for the future. So this building, even though it's over 100 years old, has actually been completely retrofitted with smart systems. So this will be one of the first smart buildings in Lethbridge where our access control system is completely run digitally. You don't need keys to get in and out of almost any door in the building. The mechanical system is also run through an AI platform that automatically determines how many people are in the building and what the airflow is that's required, and measures the current temperature, all of the sensors, and the forecast that's coming, and will balance the temperatures inside the building smartly. We also wanted to make sure that the spaces were more functional and usable for people. And so that really comes down to sizing. The building is 105,000 square feet, which is a huge office building in downtown Lethbridge. I just want to double check. Oh, no, not quite that slide. So with 105,000 square feet, the problem is that you end up with these large blocks of space that are 10, 15,000 square feet. And people just don't use that much office anymore. And so we need to find a way to break the building up into smaller bite-sized chunks where you could have small and medium-sized businesses come in and share in part of the history and operate their business in a 1 to 2,000 square foot footprint. We also wanted to make sure that we really engaged the public realm to feel like the building was friendly again and you could access it easily. So one of the biggest elements of that is our 4th Avenue Stramp, as we call it. And so instead of having the accessibility egress of the building hidden inside the building, we've actually moved it to the outside. And so we've got the cascading stairs that open up to the northeast. We also have this fully handicap accessible ramp built into the sidewalk. And so we worked with the city of Lethbridge to do this because it actually encroaches onto city property. And so it took a little bit of out of the box thinking, but I'm very happy to say that they were engaged and helpful in bringing it to pass. And so the slope of this ramp is actually so light that you don't need railings on the outside, which is why we were able to build these public benches into that curve, into the curb. And almost every day since we put this in, I've seen people out there eating their lunch, congregating, waiting for a phone call on their phone. And so that's something that's really exciting to see, because that vibrancy and that life right outside the building allows for people to kind of stop and look at what we have to appreciate together. The other element, and this is the last note here, is that we actually put heated loops, plumbing loops, underneath all of these staircases and the ramps. And so that means that now the building is truly one of the most accessible exterior in downtown Lethbridge, because there's not ice, there's not snow, it's not going to stick to any of this. That also means we don't need to use salt, which again would harm some of the Tyndall mortars and original marbles in the buildings. So those are things that, just a little bit of sort of thoughtful exercise and involving the right parties and, working with people at the city of Lethbridge, we could come up with some creative solutions to make the building significantly more accessible and friendly than it has ever been in the past. So this is where we're at so far today. So I'm sure many of you have driven by the building and seen pieces and elements of it throughout construction. We think that the northeast facade has turned out absolutely stunning. We wanted something that had a very crisp modern feel that obviously contrasted the building. We felt like the gray tan combo from before washed the building out, and it kind of made both of them look less special. And so here we wanted something that had a stark contrast, but yet didn't take away from the beauty of the building, right? It needed to allow the building to stand completely on its own. And so that's where these elements of this richelite cladding, as well as the sort of mirrored bronze finish on the corner, really stand out, but yet completely relax back when you're looking at the historic building. You'll also notice that we really wanted to echo elements of the historic building. And so these eyebrows, as we call them, that wrap around the corner of the northeast entrance, continue the strong horizontal lines from the original historic building, capping the first floor and capping the third floor. And these eyebrows will be lit up at night. So these eyebrows have lights that shine up and down, so they will reflect on the mirrored glass, as well as highlighting the lines from the original historic building without taking away from the building itself. You can see here the Stramp that's been built. We now have benches built right into it. Signage in the building is very minimal. So there is not going to be signage on the building itself. We're going to make all of the signage pedestrian level and human scale friendly. And so all of the directories and signage will actually be at the pedestrian level instead of plastered up on the building. We put in some landscaping just to soften the transition from the building to the sidewalk. So we'll be excited next year to see those blossom in, larger and fuller. We've also completely reimagined the southwest entrance to make sure that that building has its own identity and doesn't feel like it's kind of the washed out extension of the historic northeast corner. And on the west side, which is not pictured here, we will be creating a break between the original 1913 building and the 1960s edition. So that way they look like two separate buildings and they can have their own identity and be celebrated for their own architectural styles instead of feeling like they're supposed to somehow connect together. The last piece, and this is probably one of the most intricately designed pieces on the southwest corner, is the landscaping and community art walk screen that hides the more industrial loading bay area of the building from the public realm on the sidewalk. So we wanted to make sure that our transition from the Post building to the new city park and ride felt like you were still in a very urban environment instead of being able to hint or see elements of that industrial nature of the facility. And so we put in some landscaping. There'll be additional benches on this side. And there's this full punched metal pattern screen that still allows for sight lines for security. So there's no hidden wall. It allows for a little bit of our crazy winds to get through, but it offers a sort of very neat visual element to the divide between these two properties. Inside. So inside has been completely reimagined, and we've really taken some of the original historic elements and then made sort of modern improvements to layer on top of them. So the original terrazzo floors are being preserved. So you can see here in the northeast entrance, we have the original terrazzo floors, and then we've gone with really dramatic wall coverings to sort of bring out the texture and the life from the floor. As well, instead of the ceilings, which were previously all drop ceilings with fluorescent lights at a 9-foot height, we've celebrated the height that's in the building and thrown the ceilings up to 15, 16 feet. We've put in different layers of lighting so that way you can appreciate the different layers of the ceiling. We've brought in some wood, some warm teak wood, which complements the existing tones of the building. As well, we've preserved the original marble around the elevator surrounds. And in fact, we found almost an exact match to that marble that we've installed on the outside of the building and installed around the elevator surrounds throughout the whole rest of the building. So again, using modern elements and finding ways to replicate some of the historic elements throughout the building's design language. And then here you can see some of the rest of the pictures. So again, the second floor, we've really gone with the aged bronze for all of our sort of metal and edging. You'll see additional teak doors throughout the property. We've gone with multiple layers of lighting that kind of celebrate the different circles that this building has lived through. But we've made sure that there's elements of it that are modern and fresh and clean, but not too fresh and clean that they'll become trendy and date, right? We know that what we're doing here is an improvement to the property is likely going to be here for the next 40, 50, maybe 60 years. We have tenant lounges, shared boardrooms. washrooms, all that are finished to the highest standard inside the building that can actually be shared between users inside the building. So instead of everyone having to complete things in their own way and, you know, maybe wasting space or taking up additional space for each of their own businesses or uses, we would prefer to see them collaborate and connect with each other and use these better amenities, larger amenities together inside the building. So that gives you a sneak peek, and we're happy to showcase the building further and have people over for tours. We expect that most of the interior construction is going to be complete in November of this year. And so we plan to definitely be doing some videos and showcasing as that wraps up. Some of the other shared tenant spaces that I'll highlight, we actually have a rooftop patio that will be being built on the second floor. It'll have heaters, electricity, canopy lighting, and it'll be enclosed on 2 sides. So that way it can be enjoyed 3 seasons of the year. We'll have meeting rooms, tenant lounge, fitness studios, including some Peloton bikes, wellness studios, change rooms, washrooms. We actually have showers on site in the property so people can bike to work and shower, store their bike indoors on site instead of having to leave it outside. And so again, we're just imagining this building to work for the future instead of just for what people are using it for today. So that is kind of what we've got for a little bit of a space presentation, just to give you guys an update of what we've been up to. We're going to send this over to you, which has some links so you can explore it further on your own. But I wanted to see if you guys had any questions or any comments or feedback or notes that I could maybe highlight before we share with you a little bit of a sneak peek on the outside.
I have to say, I'm absolutely speechless. The work that you've done so far is stunning. The matching of the terrazzo in the lobby, that's amazing. I can't wait to see what it's going to look like when it's done. Does anyone Carol, Diane, does anyone have any questions before we get our little surprise? Because that was fun.
It looks absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Really it does.
Yeah, I'm really pleased that you've built in like the landscaping out front, made it very aesthetically pleasing. So very, very thoughtful. A lot of the little things, like you say, and keeping the historical content, even in areas where you didn't necessarily have to. But yeah, very, very interesting and appreciative.
Awesome. No, perfect. Well, I'm going to see if we can highlight the exterior. So Amanda's joined, which is actually Timothy. So he's going to turn the, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen, but I'll still be here in video and voice. And we'll get Timothy to turn the camera on. You're muted, Tim.
He's outside.
He's outside, yes.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so are the lights on or off? Oh yeah, they are on. Oh, okay, so they're already on. So
there's more lights. Those ones don't turn off, but me and Amanda kind of troubleshooted to see if we can get them to turn off, but more. So she's ready for you.
okay. Okay, I sent her a note. You might have to go a little bit closer, or we'll see what else she can get turned on. There we go.
Oh,
So
wow.
this is actually the first time I'm seeing it, but this is a sneak peek at us lighting up the exterior of the building. So the entire second level along, or the top of the main floor, the bottom of the second floor, along the entire building on the north and the west walls is going to be lit up, highlighting the carving and the detail at the top and the columns up the building. The entire fourth level between all of the dormers is going to be lit up. And then as you guys saw, the entire clock tower, all of the pilasters and corners is lit up as well. So wow. This is part of our plan to just make sure that the building is properly highlighted and showcased, and people can see and appreciate some of the intricate details and carvings that we've been up and close and personal with over the course of the building. So this is a sneak peek for you guys. I thought you would enjoy seeing what that looks like. Tim, can you go up a little closer, maybe to the sidewalk on the other side, so they can see some of the details that are maybe highlighted?
Just don't get
And,
hit by a car.
Yeah, don't get hit by a car. So we will do an official lighting event at some point in the future. And we'll make sure that the city actually turns off the street lights. So that way only the lights on the building will be lit up. So there you guys go. That's your sneak peek surprise of what the building will be looking like in the evening from, when we do the final reveal all the way into the future.
Oh,
Gorgeous, gorgeous.
It's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful.
I think it's definitely special. I love how that top looks. Holy smoke. That's that's beautiful. Oh, Belinda's got a note here. Looks like some of my favorite buildings in Paris, London,
Yeah.
etc. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we the idea came from Montreal. So a lot of the elements of the glass and the more natural Richelieu cladding that breaks the glass from the historic building, as well as the lighting. I was in Montreal the fall before we bought the building, and I said, we can do this here. And so it was a lot harder than I thought it would be, but we're doing it here. So anyway, that's something that's really exciting. And I hope that you guys, as well as the rest of the city, will be proud of the finished product.
It's stunning. Yeah.
It
Awesome.
really is the most photographed building from, I mean, the high level bridge might be the only other iconic thing, but that it's not quite a building. But yeah, those two images are what Lethbridge's calling card is to the world. And this is just stunning. The blend of that super modern glass corner with the 1913 building.
Mhm.
Beautiful and so respectful of what the building was and has always been. It really is.
Beautiful. Well, that's what we have to share with you today. We hope that we can, join you guys again and do kind of a more full tour as the building is complete. And you guys have a bit of a public audience as well. I know that we do want to talk and discuss about hosting that stories event, which I'm really looking forward to, but I do think it's going to make the most sense to do that when we can have as many people as possible and we're not kind of hampered by people being, maybe afraid or restrictions, etc.
Yeah.
So we've had, Tim's going to walk in through here so you can see this main floor lobby. Actually, can you show them the terrazzo? Oh, no, he doesn't have the key to get in.
Oh,
I'm not using my phone.
locked out.
Okay, Amanda will come let him in. And I just want to show you the terrazzo actually while we have you guys here. If you have a couple of extra minutes, we'll show you the blend between the two terrazzos. Oh, actually, Tim, so this is pretty cool. I can actually unlock the front door for him from my phone, even though I'm not there.
Hey, mine does that. Yeah. Vivian does that.
There,
Go
so I
ahead,
just
Hope.
unlocked the front door from our office for him to get in there. So there, now you can see that front lobby. So that terrazzo, so the terrazzo immediately in front of you, that's 80-year-old terrazzo. And then Tim, if you move the camera a little bit more to the right.
We lost him. Oh, there we go. Oh,
There we go. Sorry.
Okay. So that terrazzo is 5 months old. Yeah, so 80 years old, 5 months old. And then with this dark terrazzo, the terrazzo that you're seeing there, so that's 80-year-old terrazzo. And then that's 5-month-old terrazzo.
I remember walking on that when I was a kid. Jeez.
Yeah. So that's where that weird airport security looking electric lift was. And so we filled those staircase in, we filled that lift in. And then this is what that lobby is looking like. So full digital directory, the logo that we designed for the building, highlighted in that teak paneling. Do you want to tilt up to the ceiling so they can see the different layers of the lighting and the ceiling inside?
Very nice. Very nice.
And then new elevator jambs around the stainless steel elevator jambs and stainless steel doors. Oh,
Wow.
Those lobby lights are stunning. The swirls.
yeah, we love them.
Feel
And
like
they're
I'm going to
brats.
overuse the word stunning as we're going through this building.
We are a-okay with that. And so then those are the new elevators too. So those are the new teak wood paneling inside the elevators.
Nice.
And they're not the super scary old ones that bounced a little bit too much when you were going up.
Yeah.
Being that it's the end of September, is the ghost still in the building?
You know what? I don't know. We'll have to have you over. I feel like your spidey senses are a lot better than mine. So I'm not sure if that ghost is still here or not. If he's
Hope
here, I
actually
think that
has-
he's much more
I have a
comfortable.
paranormal group. I have a paranormal group.
Hope does ghost hunting and paranormal exploration. So
Yeah. So this is just giving you a little bit of a sense of the second floor and some of the finishes and some of those amenities, which really will be great to have you guys over in person to see what that kind of final finished product will look like. While you're up there, Tim, why don't you show them that second floor corridor where all the linear lights are?
What was the biggest surprise you guys came across? Like, I know the roof you said, but inside the building, what was the thing that you want? Why on earth did they do it this way?
Because we're doing such an extensive renovation, to be honest, there wasn't a lot of that. A lot of the core mechanical items and features were done very well. They just weren't done with the smart technology that we would use today. So that's something that we've added and introduced to it. But the core systems of the building were actually done in a very, thoughtful, intelligent way, which is a benefit of the government having been a previous owner.
did you just say the government did something thoughtful and well? Because that's amazing.
Yeah, the mechanical system, they did do a good job of. I have to give them props and credit for that. Trying to think what, there was just a lot. Like there were more decisions and more things to interface and more, this isn't quite the right dimension and size, and even the terrazzo. So when you guys look at the terrazzo, it's like, oh, there's this gold terrazzo throughout the building. Well, there's actually 6 different shades of terrazzo throughout the building. So when we were building the design scheme to be consistent throughout the building, which I feel is very important from a design perspective, we had to match terrazzo that was 7 different colors. So, little elements of that where it's like, okay, again, we're trying to make the building consistent, respecting the element of history. So it would have been easier just to cover the terrazzo floor, but then that's not being respectful to the floors. Same thing with the black marble. We wanted to try and find something that was a very close match to it. Well, the match we found is probably 5 times as expensive as another tile you would use. But again, for this building, that was something that we felt was important. Even the lighting, lighting is one of the areas of the building that we spent a lot on because we wanted something that really fit with the different circles that this building is from. And so one thing you'll see is Tim's walking through the second floor corridor, which I call the street because it's public access corridor. The public will be able to move through this from the southwest corner all the way to the northeast. Is that the design scheme that we've designed here works with mid-century modern, works with Art Deco, works with turn of the century, works with contemporary, works with classic. And so that's the hardest job that we have as a developer is looking at the base of the building and then being able to create a platform that anyone can do something with. And it will work, right? And it's going to work for the next 40 years. So I think that the design team has crushed it on this. I think the beautiful and the corridor is stunning. And I think it's that perfect platform where people will be able to change furniture and change looks and renovate and take their own style into each of their own units. And it will all work, right? All of those different styles will work. So that's the hardest thing about design is saying, okay, we want people to be able to do all of these things. How do we make sure that our base platform is classy, elegant, and neutral enough to allow all that to happen?
It's looking really good.
Oh yeah, this is some of the original coffered ceilings. So behind, this was actually surprising, Belinda. These original plaster crowns, which are on the second floor and the third floor, over the years of doing renovations, the trades guys just like hack them to bits. So they would need to run a conduit or a line through it, and they would just like chip away at it. And I thought, oh geez, did you never think that these were going to be used again or that these were beautiful? But they just didn't care about them. So that was kind of surprising. Although on the third floor, Ryan Miller with Select and Teamworks Training, they bought the entire floor and they completely restored all of that crown molding. So we're hopeful that whoever we put in as users on the second floor will also do that, and we'll encourage and help them to do that.
Since you did so carefully, do we have the trades in Lethbridge that support the sort of historic renovation? Because that's always one of the concerns. So, I mean, is that something we need to work on, is trying to get people into those trades better?
Yes, like I would say, and this sounds more negative than it is, but Lethbridge definitely has a shortage of quality tradespeople. And I think part of that is that design and construction in Lethbridge is really driven from the construction efficiency standpoint, where people hammer so much on price and not as much on, for sure, historical elements, but even elements of design or quality. And so like most of the really detailed historical stuff that we've done in this building, we've had to pull out of Calgary because there's just no one here that does it. So the one local trade that I will shout out for the plaster repair is Roost Acoustics. So they did that all locally. So they had some senior plaster guys that were able to do that repair, but like the Trotso came from Calgary. A lot of the like consultation for like the mortar and the stonework that came from Calgary. The actual stone installation, because we're actually replacing and repairing some of the Tyndall stone, that's being done by Zrim Masonry. So that's here in Lethbridge. But we have a shortage of qualified tradespeople for sure. And that is one of the things that made this project very challenging, is the detail, the intricacy. Yeah, I was a bit of a picky asshole, and some of the trades don't love me for it. But every trades guy that's in this building is very proud to have worked on this property.
Yeah.
And so that's, now that they're starting to see stuff finish, it's exciting to see them say like, yeah, you know, you were right. Like, yes, we needed to do that. Yes, you know, it mattered more than I thought. So that's really exciting to see and hear. But, you know, we just don't have that many historical properties. We definitely don't have very many modernizations that go to this level. And so finding those qualified people is tricky.
Well, and I feel like this renovation was like 2 steps above as far as the detail and the quality and the historic nature of it than almost anything that's been built in Lethbridge or restored in Lethbridge.
Yeah. To give you a scale sake, so we've spent more on the renovation and the modernization of the building than we bought the building for. So the entire modernization plan cost more by probably 15% than what we purchased the property for. So it is a significant overhaul.
You know, it's one of the things Calgary has done is sponsored scholarships for people in the trades.
Yeah.
But they can find better jobs in Calgary than they certainly can here. But it's a conversation that we need to have in heritage preservation, is how to get people who can do that work.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like to give the city a bit of a shout out, you know, I think that, you know, we had interest in doing this project right either way, but having that concierge service of knowing some of the elements in this building don't meet current code, and they can't unless you want us to rip apart historic elements of it. The TRIP program that we ended up applying for and getting some sort of long-term tax abatements, the adaptive reuse program that we got, most of the money that we're getting out of those programs, we just put back into the building as better upgrades, right? So that exterior lighting package for the post building, that was over $100,000. So that was a really easy thing that no one needed to do, and no one would have noticed and no one would have complained. But the adaptive reuse grant, we actually didn't use the adaptive reuse grant for the lighting. We used it for the ramp, but you know, that was $100,000. And so that allowed us to put $100,000 towards the lighting of the property. So those are things where, you know, having programs in place, if I put my city hat on, I think that it would be really smart to put certain sort of restrictions or targets in place so that money gets used towards things that are very unique or creative versus just being used for kind of everyday stuff. But those kind of grants are really important because that does free up money and capital to go towards that, like that 11th yard, right? That extra, you know, detail, that extra finish. So anyway, I think I've worked with Andrew Malcolm quite closely on this project, and that has made a huge difference.
Yeah. Are those the aviation grade steel stair railings that you were talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are.
Yeah,
those-
they're beautiful. They are so detailed and so cool. So those will all be completely polished up. But yeah, if you look at like there's no screws or fasteners on it. It's completely mechanical. Yeah, stainless steel, and they go up like they're continuous.
Goes
They
all the
go
way
up
up, yeah.
around the entire loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful railings. Yeah. So that's what we got for you guys. Again, come visit us anytime. And we'd love to do a bit of a sort of public showcase or tour for you guys another time as well.
Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us for the presentation and for the secret tour, because it's just, again, stunning. And so far what you've done is amazing, and I'm convinced you're going to top it by the time the building is done. So thank you both so much for joining us. And I am disappointed that we can't host the event in a couple of weeks, but I also agree with the reasons why. And, maybe we can put that rooftop patio to use in the spring and have a great big grand opening party, and it'll be fantastic. So does anyone else have any questions or comments before we let these gentlemen go? No? Okay. I'm going to say thank you again on behalf of the LHS, and I will probably come down and have a little tour as soon as I possibly can. So thank you both so much, and I will stay in touch. Okay.
Thank you for all your feedback and help and tour assistance. I know Belinda has come through a few times, so we really appreciate it. And we look forward to working on some future projects with you guys.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Okay.
Thank
See you.
you.
Have a great evening.
You too. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. So